Hey everyone, Pastor Shane here. It's actually been a while since I've recorded Pastors Unplugged, and obviously anybody is going to be able to benefit this, but the goal is to have you send this to a pastor or someone in leadership. I'm going to open up right now during this podcast and talk about some things that are really important, I think, for pastors. Also, I'm working on a new book, and the reason I'm putting this out now and not after the book's release is I'm trying to get more information on some of the things that pastors struggle with. The title of the book is I Almost Quit. I Almost Quit Navigating the Landmines of Ministry. And I'm going to make a long story short because I could be here for a few hours. But like any leader, any pastor, as time goes on, things begin, obviously to wear on you. We talk about stress, but also discouragement comes in. And so I'm talking about in this book and even a little bit now with my own personal struggle. And, it's different when you're young and full of energy and expectations and hopes and dreams and aspirations. And, man, after many years, 15 years now of pastoring, and I know it's not a lot compared to most people, it's really was taking its toll, and I was becoming discouraged. And for the first time ever, I thought about, look, maybe the Lord wants me to do something else. And I'm going to go into a lot more detail in the future, but in a nutshell, opportunities were presented to me through different ministries or other types of professions. And it's like, well, Lord, are you opening the door? And of course, I knew not. I mean, anytime he calls you to pastor, for the most part, that's what you're going to be called to do until the day you die, unless he, of course, redirects or there's some type of big, moral failing that we're seeing a lot of right now. That's another reason I wanted to put the book out. So, the discouragement of certain things I've been praying for, years and years going by, not being fulfilled. And as you know, the church, we love the church, but it's a very unique environment because we're all broken people. We're all, we're saints, but we sin and we hold offenses in and bitterness. And it seems like every week you're putting out a new fire. And so it can really grow on you and on your wife. My wife is going to add a chapter to the book for pastors' wives on, her fight through discouragement and seasons of depression even. And again, I don't want to go into a lot of details right now, but I want to let you know that I'd love to hear from you. If you're a pastor, reach out to us. The email is actually pretty easy. If you just email info, info at WCFAV, which stands for Westside Christian Fellowship, Antelope Valley, WCF A as in Apple, V as in Victor, at info at WCFAV.org, and just let us know, hey, I'm a pastor and what you're struggling with. I want to try to include some of those things, some of those concepts in the book. But just to give you just a kind of an overview of what the landmines are that we need to avoid: the landmine of pride, the landmine of the wrong pursuits, the landmine of power, we're seeing a lot of that in the church today. A lot of these guys that are falling are not set up under a plurality of elders and accountability, and just it's not. We're not CEOs. We're shepherds underneath the great shepherd. And then the landmine of pressure. If you don't handle the pressure right and have outlets for that pressure, when the pressure on the outside is greater than the strength on the inside, you will implode. And then the landmine of misplaced priorities, wrong priorities. The landmine of pain. That's a biggie. What do pastors do with pain? The pain maybe they cause people, but often the pain that others cause them. And it's difficult because we have to handle things not like just the average Christian. We've got to be above reproach. We've got to season our words with grace. We've got to be loving and gentle and kind. And, there's a lot of pain in ministry, and that pain can really make us bitter if we're not careful. So I'll be talking about that. And then the landmine of misguided or wrong passions. Our passion, the lust of the flesh and the lust of I. And I'm also going to mention a couple of the books that will really help out that you can download for free right now at the church website with addiction, and then also feasting and fasting. is really important. But I'm going to actually tell you something that's one of the things I'm excited about with this book is there's not a lot of books that talk about this. I think I've only read, that I can remember, 2 books in 20 years that touched on this topic. So when I was in this very difficult season, it lasted probably a couple years. Even COVID was hard, but then, right after COVID, and just getting older. As you get older, not being able to jog anymore or sprint, let alone jog, just like it's harder to get up. It's, the knees and the joints and the energy and the mood. It's like when your health isn't as good as you'd like it, and it's affecting every area of your life, it can be really discouraging. The problem was I knew what to do. I just wasn't doing it because too busy. Right? Too much going on. So what I'm really looking forward to is really helping pastors in this area, because it's a huge breakthrough, and it'll be a huge breakthrough in your ministry. And the topic I'm talking about is many pastors do not steward their physical health. Think about this. We have tips on marriage, tips on finances, tips on parenting. We don't steward our health. We don't try to improve our health, and our health affects everything else. It affects our marriage. It's hard. You can't spend time with your kids or grandkids as well. You can't do things with them if the body's constantly sluggish, constantly falling apart, constantly, just negative. And of course, food, all the chemicals, play a huge role, even caffeine in large amounts and different things. So while I was going through this, like many of you, food is my comfort. And just when you eat too much, you become sluggish. Your cells are overwhelmed. And that's what they're really finding. All disease is really linked to cellular health or lack of cellular health at the mitochondrial level, the ATP, adenosine triphosphate, where the energy is produced. And I mean, cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, something's going on in our body. And at the cellular level, it's because of too much food, junk food. We weren't designed to eat as much as we do. And we're continually feeding, and many pastors, they struggle with gluttony. They struggle with being overweight, and it really affects their production. Or maybe they don't, but maybe they're high on caffeine all the time, and they're, just kind of, snapping at people and highly strung, and their marriage is kind of tense, and they're tense around their kids. And it's because our health, how we take care of this body, really affects things. The physical affects the spiritual. There's just no way around it. Try getting 4 hours of sleep and eating junk and see how you feel. You're going to feel terrible. And so I'm excited to devote a chapter on this as well, on, we got to get back to stewarding this incredible gift that God has given us, because it affects everything else. It really does. If you think it affects everything else, and we need to be the best we can be based on, the options we have and what the gifts that God has given us. And so I think the title is going to be, I almost quit. I almost quit. And that's going to talk about the landmines, but it was a process. A couple things happened. Number one, I said, Lord, you know what? Whatever you have for me, these dreams these dreams that are dead, what I thought you were going to do, you know what? I'm completely trusting you. And wherever you want to put me, wherever you want to leave me, if I'm going to die here, that's fine. Because, the more God even grows a ministry, the more challenging it really is. And you want to just stay right where God has you. Pride can really enter in. Large church pastors, think, they're doing things right, and look at me, and that pride can come in. Small church pastors think they're the remnant church, and that's why we're real small, because we're the chosen, right? And pride can slip in anywhere. So the problem isn't the size of the church; it's the pride in the heart. And I'm definitely going to tackle that issue as well. And of course, if you're in a large metropolitan area, numbers, just math plays a big role too. So back to my point is, I just said, Lord, whatever you want to do with my life, I even stopped praying about some of these things, and I can't go into detail right now. Maybe in the future I will, but they're just normal things pastors pray for. And I'll go into detail in the first chapter of the book. And I said, you know what, Lord, I give it to you. And there was a release. It's like, hey, joy starting to return again. And I had to deal with that time. I had to deal with a lot of maybe pain and bitterness that was building up, discouragement. Sometimes when people leave, they leave in the wrong way. Negative things, they lie about you. I mean, it all just builds up. So I gave it all to the Lord. And then, the second thing I did that is so important on how to get pastors back on track. Number one, get your heart right, repent, say, Lord, if you're in a small church, Lord, wherever you want to, I love it here. I'm going to serve you faithfully and watch that joy return. I remember listening to Dr. Steve Shell. He said he was struggled with severe depression, and he was in the line one time for a buffet or something. And he was talking to this couple, and they had so much joy, and he couldn't understand it. He knew their church. It's like that church is a small church, maybe 40, 50 people. Like, I can't believe that. And God really dealt with him. God dealt with him on his whole, life was centered around, his large church or growing a large church. And once he repented of that, the depression lifted. It was pretty incredible. And so we have to say, no matter where God puts us, even a mega church, those guys have so many problems. Right now, as I'm recording this, we're considered a large church, but I think it's over 2,000, 3,000 members on a Sunday is a mega church, and they have stuff I hear about. You're like running a company. And they have issues as well too. They're like, Lord, if I could just get back to, my hometown and just a church plant, Lord, and we become disgruntled no matter where God puts us, because life is hard. Life is challenging. So once you say, Lord, wherever you want to put me, I'm going to be happy and content, and I'm going to love these people, even if there's a lot of issues and problems. So, again, just a reminder, if you do need help, I don't want to forget that we have these available for you, these books. And then the second thing I did, which is just as important, is I got kind of in a funk. And pastors know, it's like, man, it's hard to even go to church. It's hard when you don't want to preach and you're the preacher. And just the Wednesday studies, the Sundays, the events, I was in a funk. And the third point here is going to play a big role in this, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. So I said, you know what, Lord? I was reading a devotional to Fathers and Sons by Dr. Paul Brillhart. It's a good one. I think you can find it on Amazon. And it talked about, one chapter just really talked about how we have to be faithful in the gifts that he has given us, regardless of how we feel. Now, of course, I know it, but to read it and to hear it from someone else really helps. And so I said, you know what? Lord, I'm not going to miss as much. I'm going to get back there. And once I did, the joy followed. Sometimes maybe I didn't feel like being there, but after worship and the message came alive, the Spirit of God came upon the message, and it was incredible, absolutely incredible. Some of those are the best Wednesdays and Sundays I can remember when I pushed through that season. So that's the next point. Push through and fulfill your responsibilities, even when you don't feel like it. That's actually a very important biblical principle called discipline, perseverance, fortitude. You're building those things into your life. And then the fourth, I'm trying to remember. I'll probably hold tight on that one. But the third thing that was really important, and actually I'm still kind of going through a season of that right now, is I finally said, you know what? I've got to do something about just my own health. And I was starting to get signs of what they call it. I think it's called metabolic syndrome. And you can look at your waist circumference, above 40 inches for men. If you're high blood pressure, and mine was right at 40, high blood pressure, I was like, why is my blood pressure high? It never used to be high. And then of course you've got, there's other indications. If you look at your blood work, your cholesterol levels, LDL, HDL ratios, and things like that. And I'm not going to go into that. Cholesterol is kind of questionable. I'm not really, if you got all these other markers good, I'm not too worried about cholesterol. So, and I started to feel like my eyesight wasn't as good. It's still not that great. And kind of hands were falling, or feet are falling asleep. And just other things. I won't go to a lot of details, but these are kind of signs that your body has too much glucose. Your pre-stages of diabetes. And I know this. I have the health and fitness background. And the bottom line is at 215, 220 pounds, 6'2", you're okay, I guess, in your 30s, 40s, maybe. I mean, what you do now, how you take care of your body now, is going to affect you a decade from now. Okay. So it's important what you do now. So, back to the story. So weighing that is not really good as I get older in my 50s. I mean, an ideal weight would be probably a good 30 pounds less than that. People, oh, you'll lose a lot of muscle. Well, not necessarily if you do it right. And also, I'd rather exchange a little bit of muscle and lose a lot of weight and be in good health for the rest of my life. So, we worry too much about muscle, especially when fasting. Really, if you're fasting for biblical reasons, you shouldn't worry about that. So anyway, so I was eating, I actually eat really healthy, but too much. And food was my comfort. So, dinner, okay, I should have just stopped there. But then, the organic Greek yogurt, some peanut butter, a little bit of Manuka honey. And before you know it, there's another 600 calories. And then, and then there's some more. And then, so I just found myself eating a lot throughout the day, but I was able to maintain my weight because of just working out and staying active. But I could tell it was bogging me down. It was too much energy. And when you give your body too much energy, then it's going to break down. And that's what we're seeing. When you hear this term cellular or insulin resistance, diabetes, type 2 is on the rise, all this is preventable. That's what the big thing is. And so the reason I'm excited about this is huge, guys. This is huge. If you get this area under control, your physical disciplines will affect your spiritual health. And what happens is too much. It was good stuff. I mean, really good stuff, but too much energy. And so my pancreas, shoots out the insulin. The insulin goes to deal with the glucose. What insulin does is it binds to the membrane of the cell. It's kind of like a door, and it lets the glucose into the cell. And then the cell is like, hey, wait a minute. There's too much junk. There's too much garbage in here right now. We're worn down. The ATP's affected. The mitochondria is affected, and cancer, even Alzheimer's is being called type 3 diabetes. All of this, I believe, has to do with what I'm talking about. Most diseases. And so then now your cell becomes resistant to insulin. It's like, no. And it pushes the glucose back into the bloodstream. And that's where a lot of these problems come from, honestly, is just the blood sugar. You won't be able to lose weight at all with insulin high. And that's why what's became really popular right now, the, Ozempic, it's a GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1, which is a, semaglutide. What it does, it mimics, glucagon in the body, or actually it prevents hunger to some degree, but there's a lot of ramifications on this. You should follow somebody named Ben Bickman on this topic. He talked about how a person, let's say they lose 30 pounds, 40% of that is muscle mass, 40% on Ozempic. And a lot of it can be skeletal, not just muscle mass, I should say, non-fat mass. So that could be water, of course, muscle, skeletal. And 70% of the people get off the drug, and then you will gain the weight back. I mean, that's just kind of natural. And the weight that comes back, though, is not the muscle, it's the fat. So the person actually is more overweight when they stop later, when they gain that weight back, than they were when they started. So it's always God's way is the best way. So my point is, and that was kind of long there, but I want to show you how important this is. I think it's a missing link. I think we're missing how important our physical health is. And I think God is showing us. Look at diabetes in kids, type 2 diabetes, adult onset diabetes, liver disease, fatty liver disease in teenagers. I mean, guys, we've got it. This is huge. This is a huge deal. So bottom line is, when I begin to refocus my life on this, disciplines, the fasting, incorporating fat, I think fasting, it's a lifestyle. Okay. It's not something, okay, January 1st, I'm going to do this, or in June. It's a fasted lifestyle, because you're disciplining the flesh. You enjoy, meals when you need to, you enjoy cookouts, but you need to control the flesh. Your flesh doesn't control you. And so again, we're not perfect, but once we begin to instill disciplines back into our life again, really affects us spiritually. So there's another point I can't think of right now, but those three things in combination, that was kind of the turning point for me. And I said, okay, Lord, feeling good again. I'm glad I went through that funk, because now I'm going to write the book. And as a result, different speaking engagements have come up recently in Southern California, different states, Ohio, to speak at pastors' conferences on this topic of encouraging them. So anyway, I hope that helps. Again, I want to encourage you to email us at info at wcfav.org, info at wcfav.org, Westside Christian Fellowship, AntelopValley.org. Let us know, if you're pastor, what your struggle is. Also, you can follow me on X, Instagram, of course, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and I'll be releasing more of these things. It's probably going to be a few months. I'm hoping to get this out late in the summer of this year, 2025. But just excited to announce this news and want to be some encouragement now to you. You can get back on track. Try those 3 things that I just talked about. They will be life-changing